The compelling drama on TV, seen live right here on HLN today, as the jury got to ask Jodi Arias questions at her murder trial. Yeah, the jury gets to ask questions in Phoenix. And tonight in the Showbiz Countdown, we are revealing the top 3 questions that we think are the questions that must be asked before the jury is done. And as you can imagine, they have to do with all of the sordid, graphic revelations that Jodi has been making about her over-the-top sex life with her boyfriend Travis Alexander before she stabbed him 27 times.
Remember the first time that you and I grinded at Ehrenberg, and we both, I did it for you're like, whoa, I the same time I looked around and there's just all over. It was so hot.
And on it has gone. Jodi's cringeworthy sexual details about her love life while testifying for more than 2 weeks on the stand, trying to prove that she killed Travis in self-defense. And of course, all seen right here as HLN brings you the live courtroom testimony every day. Jane Velez Mitchell is, of course, part of that continuing coverage. Jane is the host of Jane Velez Mitchell, weeknight, 7 p.m. Eastern here on HLN. And joining us from New York tonight, in Hollywood tonight, Pat Lalama, who's a correspondent with the Investigation Discovery Network. So, ladies, let's kick off our countdown with the number 3 question that we think the jury has got to ask Jodi Arias. Why did Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander record their phone sex conversations, which have been played in court? Bap. Okay, Jane, why did they record their phone sex? Does it make any sense to you?
Well, Jodi's the one who recorded it. She claims that Travis asked her to do that. I doubt that because he might have made a reference to that. You think if he'd actually asked her? There is no reference. So I think this was either some kind of stalker souvenir on her part or that she wanted blackmail material on him. If he ever tried to leave her, she could say, hey, I'm going to release this. Stay with me.
Yeah, I'm thinking setup here, but Pat Lalama, I want you to weigh in. I know you've been following this very closely. Why do you think she recorded these conversations?
You know, it's interesting. You can look at it so many different ways. First of all, these people are into sex, so maybe she just wanted to have it on record to go listen to later. I doubt it. I agree with my good friend Jane. I think there's a setup in here. I think she wants to use it later. There's all kinds of salacious stuff in there that doesn't necessarily make him look, you know, what's normal. I don't know. It's not for me to judge. Yeah. But definitely I think it's maybe payback later.
Sex. And sex happens to be part of the number 2 question on the Showbiz Countdown that we think the jury has got to ask Jodi Arias. Was the sex with Travis consensual or not? Now, part of Jodi's self-defense claim is that Travis was an abusive boyfriend who forced her to do things sexually that she didn't like. But as we've seen throughout her testimony, carried right here on HLN Live, Arias seems to go back and forth on that point. Let's watch.
I kind of felt like a used piece of toilet paper.
It was a consensual, mutual relationship, sexually speaking, wasn't it?
Yes, always. I couldn't help thinking that it was kind of like a prostitute.
Your participation, if you will, in these activities was equal to his, right? Wasn't it?
Yes. It was a way for him to relieve his anger.
Are you telling us that this was an alternative to anger?
Yes.
There was a sexual component to it, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it was always a component that you partook of as much as he did, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys could actually hear the sound while that sound was playing of my head spinning round and round trying to figure out exactly what the truth was. But Jane, does Jodi's constant testimony about her sex life leave you just as confused as the rest of the world, or do you have a line in on this for us?
Look, I think she enjoyed it. It's a kinky sexual relationship. It takes 2 to tango. I think she even used that phrase. And you could see from some of her texts, she wants a well-deserved spanking. And the fact is that in S&M relationships, both parties get something out of it, the top and the bottom. And so they're both getting off. What can I say?
Yeah, so to speak. So listen, Pat, at one moment she's saying, I felt like a piece of toilet paper. On the other moment, she's saying this was consensual. Can you make sense of it for us?
What she meant was I felt like a piece of toilet paper and I liked it. Okay. The point is she is an insult to people who are truly in domestically abusive or sex slave kinds of relationships. She used sex as a tool. It was one of her weapons. She was into it and she later used it to try to get him back, to manipulate him in any way she possibly could. She was angry and jealous and frustrated, and sex was the tool. That's what she wanted to keep him in her life.
Yeah, I agree with you.
She was no slave.
I also think that, she's making a bad name for people who are into sexually charged relationships, but that's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Jody's shifting stories in the case does bring us to our #1 question on the Showbiz Countdown. We think the jury has got to ask Jodi Arias, Jodi, after all your lies, I mean, really, why in the world should we believe you now? From the moment Travis Alexander was killed in 2008, we've lost track of all the lies. Jodi has told so many of them, from saying she wasn't in Arizona when Travis was killed, to blaming the killing on men dressed as ninjas who broke into her house. And she's admitted to it on the stand.
Did you lie to the detective, yes or no?
Yes.
And did you also lie to 48 Hours?
Yes.
Did you lie to people in Utah?
Yes.
Did you lie to Daniel Freeman?
Yes, everyone.
Jane, they only get so many questions. You got to think that the jury wants to ask Jodi, why should we trust you now?
Why do you want to ask a question of a pathological liar? Well, even a broken clock is right twice a day, and really good pathological liars weave the truth into their lies. Maybe it's 70% truth, but 30% really good lies. I think some of these jurors want to catch her in the lie. Oh, I got a question that's really going to snag her. It's like a game at this point.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Pat? Would you want to ask her, why should we believe you at all? Because you have contradicted yourself so many times at this point?
You know what really strikes me, AJ? I was looking back at some of the old TV interviews that she did. And when she was telling that original story about the intruders, it was so intricate and she had so many details. And I thought, she is so good at this. How will anybody really know what shred is the truth and what is not? She is a born liar.
There's little question about that. And now, in a bombshell accusation, some friends of Travis are accusing Jodi of yet another lie. They just revealed this exclusive video to Dr. Drew Pinsky here on HLN on his show, Dr. Drew on Call. It shows Travis and Jodi sitting down. They're talking to a group of friends in this thing. And one of Travis's friends tells Dr. Drew that the affection we see Travis showing Jodi in this video shows that she's lying now, as she paints Travis as being this unaffectionate abuser. Watch.
For Jodi to be on the stand saying that Travis never showed affection and he was embarrassed of her, this shows right here that, I mean, you can't see in the rest of the video, but there were 20 other people standing opposite to Travis listening to the story, and she was laying there, and this is how she always was around the group. She, was apathetic. She didn't care about anything, and she was, always trying to get Travis away from the group.
So, Jane, what do you think that the jury is going to make of all of Jodi's lies?
First of all, I think the prosecution should take that videotape and play it in their rebuttal case.
Yeah.
Because it really does show that he's affectionate in front of a large group of people. And that was one of the basis of her defense, was that, I'm Travis's dirty little secret. Nobody was supposed to know. Well, look at that. That flies in the face of it. I just think this is absolutely fascinating, and every day there is something like this. She's like, I can't wait till I get him alone. I just can't stand being with other people. Look at this. It's hysterical.
Yeah, Pat, how in the world is the jury going to find any modicum of credibility with anything that Jodi has said?
I don't know, but it only takes one, and that's the beauty of our system. But the point of the matter is that she is so sincerely narcissistic. Everything comes back to her. It's about her. The only thing that I fear is that when she does that little demure kind of thing, and the jurors have seen her for so long, and they become so familiar with her that maybe they're going to forgive her for something. I don't know. I hope not.
We sure will find out. Pat, Jane, anything goes.